China is starting to arm Iran and is ready to transfer its J-10 fighter jets. China is ready to supply J-10 fighter jets to friendly countries. This was stated by the Ministry of Defense of China after reports that Iran is seeking to acquire this multi-role fighter jet. After the devastating attacks by Israel last month, questions were raised about Iran's outdated air defense system, which is mainly supplied by Russia. The publication states that after Russian weapons proved ineffective against Israeli and American airstrikes, Iran turned to China for help and is requesting more weapons, including aircraft. And now there are the first signs that Beijing is ready to help Tehran and sell its fourth-generation fighter jets. This will significantly change the security architecture in the Middle East and will definitely affect the relationship between China and the United States. My name is Alexei Pecci. Today is July 9th. Let's take a closer look at this topic together. Let's go through everything step by step. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, give it a like, leave any comments you want, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel Peachy News. The link to it is in the description of this video. There we post breaking news as soon as it comes in. So, as Segodnya writes, Israel's attacks on Iran, aimed at destroying its nuclear program and top military leadership, have become a vivid illustration of the shortcomings of Iran's air defense, which in many ways relied on Russian systems. And even the much-praised Russian S-400 and even S-500 systems turned out to be powerless against airstrikes by the American and Israeli air forces. While Iran is striving to strengthen its defense, he might pay attention to the obvious success of the Chinese Air Force in the confrontation between India and Pakistan in May, when Chinese fighter jets proved themselves in combat and Pakistani forces claimed to have allegedly shot down Indian aircraft. And so, after those episodes, people in Tehran started thinking that if China supplies its aircraft to Pakistan, it could also supply them to Iran. Especially since all of Iran's requests for help from Russia ended only with loud and deep concern and condemnation from the Kremlin, Putin simply can't help Iran with anything right now, and overall the Kremlin just abandoned Iran, which I talked about in one of the previous episodes on this YouTube channel. And today, one of Iran's officials publicly stated that Russia did not meet Tehran's expectations in terms of cooperation and partnership. As the official from Tehran says, the partnership turned out to be one-sided. Moscow is just a passive observer and nothing more. And moreover, Iranian newspapers are now coming out with headlines like these. And notably, as even Iranian media report, during the 12-day conflict with Israel, key nuclear infrastructure facilities in Iran were destroyed. More than half of the ballistic missiles and launchers were lost, and the command system was completely disrupted. And all this has intensified protest sentiments and dissatisfaction among allies, especially the Russian Federation. Because all of Iran's attempts to acquire Russian military equipment, including Su-35 fighter jets and Mi-28 attack helicopters, have reached a dead end. The only thing that Russia has actually delivered to Iran is training aircraft. And everything that Iran had from Russia, Iran received before Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. And today, former Deputy Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, Ali Matahari, publicly states, quote, Russia refused to sell Iran even the critically needed S-400 missile defense systems, despite the fact that Tehran supplies Moscow with drones for the war against Ukraine. Moscow's reluctance is explained by fears that Iran might use the S-400 against Israel, which exposes the superficiality of the so-called strategic partnership that Vladimir Putin talks about so loudly. And now, several media outlets have reported that representatives of Iran's Ministry of Defense are holding high-level talks about purchasing Chengdu J-10 multi-role fighter jets. An Israeli official, by the way, has already called on China to put pressure on Iran to curb its military ambitions. This indicates that Israeli intelligence is already well aware of the negotiations between Beijing and Tehran. A representative of the Ministry of National Defense of China, commenting on reports that several countries are negotiating to purchase weapons, including the J-10 aircraft, stated that China is ready, quote, to share the achievements in the development of its technology with friendly countries. And Jiang Bin is the spokesperson for the Ministry of National Defense of China. He did not name Iran or any other country that is negotiating to purchase the J-10. However, he made these statements after numerous media reports that Iran is negotiating to purchase Chinese weapons, including the J-10 fighter jet. China, which once heavily depended on Russian imports itself, has moved on to developing its own modern aircraft, demonstrating a growing self-sufficiency and competitiveness that could surpass the Russians. That is, China is already on a completely different level. Countries seeking to acquire modern fighter jets are increasingly turning to China, as it aims to boost exports and strategic partnerships while showcasing its aircraft in military exercises. And a recent analysis by the International Institute for Strategic Studies showed that the main recipients of Chinese weapons were Myanmar, Pakistan, Thailand, and the United Arab Emirates. The Emirates, by the way, once considered American F-35 fighter jets, but have now shifted their attention to Chinese aircraft. Jiang Bin, a representative of the Ministry of National Defense of China, stated that China is ready to sell these aircraft. And that's all the comments regarding Iran negotiating to purchase Chinese J-10 fighter jets. At the same time, Ravid Bayer, the Consul General of Israel in the Chinese city of Shanghai, stated, quote, "China is the only one capable of influencing Iran. They can put pressure on Iran. They have political power over Iran. They can help stop its malicious activities in the region." And although Iran is calling on the United States of America to resolve disagreements through diplomatic means, the tension in relations between Iran and Israel remains high. Amid speculation that Israel may launch new strikes if it believes that elements of Iran's nuclear program survived the attacks by Israel and the United States. And finally, I'll add that Chengdu J-10 is a Chinese all-weather, multi-role, fourth-generation fighter jet. And it's telling that for a long time it was equipped with a Russian engine, but since 2020, the production of this fighter jet has switched entirely to Chinese engines. And in this regard, I'll immediately announce the next episode. Because China is now starting to act exactly like a military ally that is trying to arm as many countries as possible. Because in the Middle East, a Chinese ship actually attacked a German reconnaissance plane with a laser the other day, and that plane is supposed to ensure the safety of shipping in the Red Sea. And in this way, China is demonstrating that it is also present there and that it also has its own ambitions in the region. I'll leave it at that for now. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like the video. That's all for now. Take care. Bye, everyone.